You know, there's kind of a common theme that's kind of gone through a lot of the questioning is a lot on the timeline for the applications to go through. And if I could just maybe follow up on a couple of these, if I may. Ms. Moyer, one of the things when you're looking at these applications, how often do you have third-party litigants that are going to be filing lawsuits? Do you have any idea, like in the current cases out west, how many third-party litigants you have?
As far as I know, we don't have anybody that has sued us yet because we haven't taken an agency action.
Okay. If I could turn then to Mr. Smith, I think that, or I'm sorry, Mr. Wright, I believe that Mr. Barton had asked a question as to from start to finish and filing of an application, how long it takes. Did I understand it was 18 to 24 months? Was that correct, what I heard?
I was using the example of our experience with the regasification plants, the import terminals. What I tried to point out is using Sabine Pass example of about 15 months is kind of risky in that it's each one of the export terminals are presenting kind of issues of first impression. So I can't put my exact finger on a processing time for export terminals. Okay.
Well, because I'm just kind of curious, because in your testimony, when you kind of lay out the your timelines and what's happening from the pre-filing process, it says for a period of about at least 6 months, and then for the formal application that's been filed, and then you have right in the same paragraph the question again, if I could bring this up, is on the interveners become parties to proceedings and have the right to request a rehearing of a commission orders and seek relief of final agency actions in the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. When that happens, how much time is needed for that to get something out of the Court of Appeals?
Well, that would be up to the actual project proponent. If you get through our rehearing process and we find that your project is approved, if someone sues you in the Court of Appeals, you could go ahead and commence construction activities at your risk. Okay. Many people do that on the pipeline side.
Okay. And pardon me, and if I could turn, Mr. Smith, if I could ask you, it's kind of interesting that in your testimony you state that in the one case, I think it was the Sabine, if I got that correct, it says that in response to the notice of availability, DOE received over 188,000 initial comments and approximately 2,700 reply comments. How long did it take you all to get through all that? Any idea?
From the time that we closed that comment period to the time we issued the order, it was somewhere around 2.5 months was a period of time that we took to evaluate all the comments, write the order, and get the order published in the Federal Registry notice and out to the applicant. Okay.
In that period of time, just out of curiosity then, how many folks do you have looking at the comments, and then also how much time is spent looking at pretty much each of those comments, since you had, again, 188,000 initial comments and then, again, the 2,700 reply comments? Any idea how much time you can spend on each one of those?
Well, thanks for the question. Some of those comments are repetitive because some of them are letter writing campaigns. Some of them are very comprehensive, so they could be entire studies or comments that are very, very complex. So I couldn't really give you a rule of thumb for each comment because it depends.
And just again, because I said that there is a common theme here of folks on the committee looking at on the time side. When you issue, it says here that on May the 17th, 2013, DOE granted the second long-term application on the Freeport, and it said in your statement, it says the order was granted after an extensive review of the application to export LNG from Freeport. How long, when you say extensive, how much time is that for that review?
Well, there are two things that happened between Sabine Pass and Freeport. First, we commissioned an extensive study that looked at domestic and international impacts of LNG and how those would impact American businesses, families, and consumers. So that took a period of time. That study, once completed, we want this to be an open and transparent and very visible process, so we put that study in the docket for public review. That was when various stakeholders had the opportunity to comment, and so that was the genesis of those comments that you just asked me about. And when that was completed, we took a period of time to evaluate the comments, and then we got the order written.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My time is